So around 6 years ago, I was riding home from work on my absolutely much loved Kawasaki ER6F, a bike which just suited me down to the ground. It handled brilliantly, had enough power to give you fun without being dangerous. And a young lady coming around the roundabout hit me from behind and knocked me off and smashed my shoulder. So lots of pins and plates and things like that. So I got a payout for that, obviously, and the payout, right, was quite a bit. It wasn't huge. It's not like American standards, UK standards payout. And it gave me two options. One is I could get that money and split it between the kids and the wife, or I could buy something for myself. So let's see what decision I made, and just in case the wife sees this video, it's a decision I regret every day of my life. Okay, I made this gate, by the way. It used to be a wooden gate here, and the wind funnels down the side of the house, and when you open or close the gate, you used to have to jump on it and ride it, because it was so dangerous. So I built this gate, which is much safer. So what did I do with my money? Bought one of these. So if you don't know what this is a Renault Clio V6. And V6, you're thinking, can we get the engine in, V6 engine in there? Well, you can't. You actually get the V6 engine in the back here. So this car is a two-seater. And I will do a ride-in on this in a second video, otherwise this video might be too long. But the one thing with the ride-in video is, it's really noisy inside, but I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. So, Renault Clio V6. So, anybody that knows anything about this would probably remember the Renault 5 Turbo. So not the GT Turbo, but the Renault 5 Turbo, which was the original Renault 5, but with a four-cylinder 1400cc turbo, I think it was, in the back, right? And it was a rally car, and a very good rally car. So years and years and years later, they built this Renault Clio. Why did they build this? Well, I think it was just a bit of bravado. I really do. I think Renault just thought, do you know what, we can, so we will. It did get used in a race series, so before the Formula 1 race there would be a race series for these. I have seen, there's one on YouTube of the Monaco one. I don't know how successful it is. So this, I mean, to be clear, this is a phase 2. There is an R version, which I don't know the difference, I'll be honest with you, but they're the ones which are more akin to the racing cars. I think they're super rare though. Yeah, so how did he do this? Right, well, as you can see, it doesn't share a lot of panels, but it does share some. Bonnet, the lights are the same, certainly the window and the top and the tailgate are I'm pretty sure the same. It was I think Tom Walkinshaw Racing, TWR, who actually did the work. There's obviously a new subframe in the back and things like this, so the chassis was substantially modified. The engine, which I'll try and get a look at later on, right, is a Laguna engine. It's a Laguna V6 3 litre. Now in the phase 1 it was tuned to something like 230 horsepower. This is a phase 2, so it's got a little bit more, not much, but a little bit more, but 255 I think, and that work was done by Porsche, I think. I'm saying a lot of things in this. Yeah, so is it quick? I think is the answer, is the question, probably going through everybody's mind, and I'm going to say that's alright. The problem is the weight. It's a heavy car. I mean, its official 0 to 60 time, I think from memory, is high 5s, so 5.678, something like that. Now the contemporary Clio, of standard Clio at the time, sporty one, was the RS172, and that, although it may not be as quick in a straight line, but there wasn't much in it, was certainly quicker going around corners, because that's where we get to the bête noire of this car, which is spinning, right? Because as you can see, it's a short car, And if I compared it to my wife's car there, my wife's got an Ego, right? It's a short car with a big heavy engine in the back, so I think, and rear wheel drive, so I think it's all adding up to what you can imagine to be pirouetting. Now the Phase 1 was worse, apparently. I've never driven the Phase 1, but apparently they're worse. Right, now, put my hands up. I've spun this. I spun it, and I'll explain why I spun it a bit later on, but I have spun this. Nice and safe, wasn't doing anything stupid, but obviously doing something stupid enough to spin it. I just accelerated around, I put the power on a little bit too early going around the corner, and it just pirouetted a bit. No other cars on the road, in the area. It was a couple of years later that my son, knowing that I'd done this, put his hand up and says, yeah, I spun it as well. So, you know, so lucky enough he left it 2 years to tell me that, but there you go. Yeah, so heavy engine in the back. To wait for somebody to walk past then. It's a heavy engine in the back. Yeah, so not particularly quick, don't handle too great, but oh my god, it's so much fun to drive. It really is. Absolutely. When you drive it, you gotta have a smile on your face when you're driving it. Even when my son's driving, I'm in the passenger seat. And I'm looking around to see if anybody's looking at us, which is a terrible thing to do, you know, shocking thing to do, but I do because it's just so much fun. If you see the exhausts, so the exhausts are non-original, they're Jan Speeds, and they are what's supposed to be catback, and what catback means is that it retains a catalytic converter at the end, so in theory you should be alright for, you know, for your emissions testing. Well, I went for emissions testing, and cut a long story short, after about an hour of them trying to get this down, right, the guy says, are you sure there's cats in this? Because we seem to be getting neat fuel coming out of the exhaust. I think it was something like 300 or something, 300 and something, whatever the units are, excuse me, I can't remember what it is. And he said, it's just crazy. So he said, what you can do, it could be the injectors, it's not likely, but it could be the injectors, right? So put this injector cleaner in and then go and rag the crap out of it, and that's how I ended up spinning it, because I was ragging the crap out of it, trying to burn through this petrol additive. Half a tank of petrol to burn through, which I did. It was a huge amount of fun, never repeated. Yeah, so I ended up having to pay for a new set of cats, and oh my god, that was expensive, really expensive. I'm retired now, fully retired at the moment. I'll be getting semi-retired a bit later on if I do a bit of consultancy, but fully retired at the moment because I've got to go and decorate me and do some modifications to my younger son's first home. These things here, these are Phase 2 scoops. Right, and the reason why I'm bringing them up is because these get pinched, right, and that's why there are a few Phase 2s with Phase 1 scoops on them, unfortunately. They're something like over £1,500 to replace. What else can we talk about? Right, let me go and get the key, we can have a quick look inside. As I say, we'll do a drive around a bit later on. That's the boot open. I'm only 5'8". And as you can see, it's really low. So this is the rear engine cover. This is actually this thing here is a display cover. It's just in here for storage. So what you would do is remove this cover here, which is nicely padded, and then there's another insulation cover underneath which you can replace with this thing. Okay. As I say, it's display only. You couldn't drive it with that. It just destroy itself. So there's a toolkit here, and there's your boot. And I have been shopping with this. Didn't get a lot in it. So the doors, I think the standard Clio doors were just with a new skin on them. I'm pretty sure they are. Fuel consumption, do you know what? It's bad, but it's nowhere near as bad as me Lotus Elan. The Lotus Elan, you'd be driving around town, you'd be lucky to get 20 miles to the gallon. This thing, you know, it's akin to what you'd imagine it to be. I think it's probably about the same as my son's RS Trophy that he had, the Megane RS Trophy. So if we get in, so this thing here is just it's a silica gel pad, so just to keep the inside dry when we're not using it. And just to be clear, the reason why it's here is simply because me eldest son, he's moving home because it lives with him. Because I'll be honest with you, they get more, the kids get more enjoyment out of it than I do, because I'm a bit old. But yeah, so standard Renault Sport seats, nothing special, and a standard, oh, I need to get new, a standard, if you can see it, Renault Sport steering wheel, absolutely bog standard, right? And they do go these, I don't know if you can, how well you can see that, but you can just start seeing it to go here, right? So I will at some point get a new one. Right, but everything else is absolutely bog standard from a Renault. I think this is in a slightly different position, probably different gear knob. But yeah, everything else is bog standard. You didn't get a lot of extra kit for your boot. So this is a boot. This lead here goes to the battery because the battery's underneath here. So we keep it on trickle charge when it's at my son's house. This I think will be the steering hydraulics, and if you look, the level's really low, so I'll get that topped up today. There's a little bit of water in there as well. It's probably just come, it's been really high winds here. There are all these diesel or something like quick release, really lightweight this thing. These get broken quite a bit. That's a company that did the major service. It'll get serviced every year, right? Oh no, it wasn't them. Oh no, that's right. So these are the guys who couldn't get the emissions down. Right. So that's the last time they serviced it. But I did do the major service. So a major service is engine out job. So there's a place in Edinburgh and a place in London. So we get somebody to come up with a low loader to put this on the back to take it to Edinburgh. Right. You just don't. If you buy one of these, don't give it to anybody other than, you know, these companies, okay? Because it's such a specialist job, and these guys, you know, the people who changed the exhaust had to then change the manifold, and the guy had a manifold set, and he charged me some really stupidly low figure for it. So it's just well worth going to them. So yeah. So that's the there's a bit more space in there, isn't there? It's not so bad. It's not so bad. You get a case in there, your weekend case or something like that. Obviously, you're not going to move house using it. Oh yeah. So what do you reckon? Do you reckon we should give it a start? Well, my son's still in bed. You've probably seen him come running out when I started. What are you doing, starting? He's left it in gear. Really heavy clutch. So I went to automatics because I slipped a disc in my back, and pressing the clutch in it was a Chrysler Sebring I had at the time, was really ended up being quite painful over long distances. So I had to go to an automatic with cruise control, and that's helped a lot. I can drive this. This has, when it's cold, and I can't speak for all of them, it might be just something about this car, right? But it has a bit of driveline wind, what you'd used to call driveline wind up. So if you've ever driven a Lotus with roto cones, are they called? You know, the rubber elastic couplings, right? Then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So when you put the power on, the first thing it does is kind of wind up the rubber, and then it releases the rubber like an elastic band, letting go an elastic band. So you kind of go whoom, and this does this when it's cold, and when you're not used to driving it. Right, as you get more used to driving it, it's fine, you know, and all that goes away, right, and it's really nice and smooth. But just while it's cold, when you first start driving it, yeah, you just get a little bit of that wind up. Fuel gauge, you can actually physically see the fuel gauge dropping when you're driving it. I'm going to see if it'll start. Do you reckon it'll start? Because if it starts, it's amazing, because this has sat here for 2 months, right? My son's been away. My son's an ROV pilot. A pilot tech, and he's been away, and while he's moving house, he's left this here. He's also left half his house in my house, but that's another story. Right, so let's see if I can start it. If it may get so noisy, because that's the other thing I haven't mentioned. One, super noisy, properly. It's so noisy, I'll be honest with you, over distances, right, you need to wear earplugs. Genuinely need to wear earplugs, okay, otherwise you just get a headache. The other thing as well is it's super hot, properly hot, and it does have AC. So it does have AC, and the AC does work. You know, if you're thinking, oh, it just needs a charge of AC, no, it just gets super hot in here. So, but it's all part of its character. You know, if it didn't do these things, it'd be boring. I mean, my son's car, he's replaced his Megane Trophy, or whatever it was, with an AMG A35, right? And I know he's gutted, because his Megane RS cracked and poppled and did all sorts of stupid stuff, right? Whereas his A35 is just a lovely car to drive. You know, it's super quick, don't get me wrong, I think it's less than 5 seconds. It burned this one away, right? But it's, you know, the wife could drive, and that's a terrible thing to say, I could drive it easily, and I'm a really bad driver, and getting worse as I'm getting older. But it's no fun. So, whereas this thing, it's just full of fun. Right, let's see if that'll start. I'll just keep trying to speak. Well. So it started. I'm not going to rev it because I've got to let because it's been sat there, there's been no oil moving around the system. So you've got to leave it on idle. Right. Until you got confidence there's oil actually around the system. Yeah, that's sound noisy because that's on idle. Yeah, absolutely, it's great, it's brilliant, and if you're lucky enough to get the opportunity to buy one of these things, then I would. I mean, my plan A was I was going to get a Renault 5 Turbo, but they're, you know, the starting price for them now is probably 60, 70, and maybe a bit more. And if I kept on working for 2 more years, I would have bought one, but I haven't, and sanity means that it's better off I do this. So I just want to rev it a little bit so you can hear it. It does, when it had that other exhaust, the catback exhaust, it used to crackle and pop like a proper sporty car, like, you know, and it did sound fantastic. Now the crackle and pop has basically gone. And that's just 1500 Hz. Just waking itself up there. Yeah, so brilliant. And later on I'll give it a drive. Okay.